Welcome to the information session and program overview for the MEng program at Cornell University. Few instructions before we start. We have people from all over the world on this conference call. Currently, we have about 75 people. So I would appreciate if everybody would mute their either cell phone or the computer, depending on how they're connecting with a conference call. Second, you can send questions via the chat room to me. My plan is to go through the presentation initially and then answer every question that you may have. So nothing is inappropriate to ask. This is a key and important career decision for each of you, and I'm here to address your questions. Okay, so with that, I'm going to get started. My name again is Peter Jessel. I'm a professor of practice, which means that I rejoined Cornell after working in industry for about 30 years. If those of you who come to Cornell and we have a chance to meet, I can describe in more detail my background. My official role is that I'm the director of the MEng program. And with that, most of your questions I should be able to answer. And I'm directly responsible for decisions regarding any of the MEng students. So if you have questions or issues, I should be able to address them directly here, or when you come, I can address them on campus. So what are we going to do today? One of the things I want to do is discuss the ECE program at Cornell. Whoops, bear with me. And highlight some of the key features of the program and Cornell. I've been associated with Cornell since I was a student there almost 50 years ago. I want to highlight some recent enhancements to the program, and particularly some new faculty, some new courses, and some new changes in the requirements for the MEng degree. I want to review the MEng objectives, the objectives we have to you, which in a nutshell is that we want you to be successful not only at Cornell, but in your subsequent career. And how we go about that is integrated into the structure of the program. I want to give you a complete overview of the components of the MEng degree, and specifically highlight the courses you are required to take, the courses you can elect to take, and describe in depth the flexibility you have in that course selection. A key component of the MEng degree is the project. And there's always some question about what is a good project. I've had already a couple of letters come to me, emails come to me about people interested in doing post-MEng work, potentially pursuing a PhD. And that has a direct bearing on the kind of project they select. And then most importantly, I want to answer your questions. So the MEng degree is a premier degree intended to prepare students for a career in industry. It is not like some programs have an MS PhD program. It is not the initial component of a PhD program. Our objective is to give you the skills to be successful in getting a job in industry, and to provide you the technical training and social skills necessary to be successful. It is a competitive program. Each of you who are on this call were selected from a large body of people who applied. The number of people who come represents about 1 in 7 of those who initially applied. And one of our key concerns is that many of you who do not have work experience, we want to make sure that it helps you hit the ground running in a company and really can jump into a project not as a intern, but as a member of the technical community in the company that you start with. And a key thing is, since it's a 1-year program, or in some cases 18-month program, you should expect to work hard. Everybody who enters, who works, graduates, but every once in a while people are shocked by the level of work that we expect. But on the other hand, that work allows you to develop the skills that you need to be successful. Cornell is a university that's now about 150 years old. It was founded in 1865. The ECE program is over 100 years old, and the MEng program is over 50 years old. And throughout that period, we've been an innovator in not only ECE education, but in key components of the research in the field. Our program is project-based, which means that every student who completes the program has done a project of significant depth that they can use to demonstrate to potential employers their abilities in a key technical area. Like most professional schools, the classmates that you meet here often become your professional network going forward. You'll have been working closely with these people in projects, in class projects, going to classes together, doing your actual project together in social events. And so they provide the initial professional network that will be useful throughout your career. One of the things we emphasize is a flexible format. Although we have requirements in terms of number of courses that you take in electrical engineering and the outside technical or non-technical electives, each student has the ability to choose those courses in order to build an individualized program that meets their needs and establishes a path to their career of choice. And lastly, we're an Ivy League institution, one of 8 that are in the Ivy League, and we have a top 10 ranking in ECE. So you're coming to a good school. The picture on the left is one of the hallmarks of the school, which is the clock tower. It stands above the Ithaca area, and in the background there, you can actually see a lake, which is Cayuga Lake. Okay, what are the basic goals? First and foremost, we want you to gain advanced technical knowledge. Your undergraduate education is intended to develop the core skills necessary to be an engineer. Now, our objective is to build depth in 1 or 2 areas where you really want to practice as a professional. So, course selection in each of the key areas, be it networking, be it devices, be it information processing, be it computer architecture, are each available to you to kind of build a deep understanding of some of the key aspects of that field. But success in industry isn't dependent alone on your technical skills. It's very much dependent on your social skills, the so-called soft skills, your ability to communicate, your ability to express yourself verbally and in written form, and be able to make a case for your for anything that you're proposing, or to venture capitalists. We want you to gain project experience. The life of an engineer is one that goes from project to project, product to product. So we want you to have the experience to take a design from start to finish, make mistakes, we all make mistakes, and solve unexpected problems, and deal with real deadlines and real colleagues in a team and collegial environment. Very little is done in industry today by an individual. In almost all corporate situations, teams are set up to solve product development issues and develop state-of-the-art products for basically for society. One of the exciting things that is coming is that we have new faculty. Some of these have been with us for a year. Some of them have been with us a little longer. We're also in the process of recruiting anywhere from 2 to 3 new faculty members who are yet to be identified. The first of them is Jayadev Akaya, whose area of expertise is information theory, algorithmic statistics, machine learning, and basically understanding the trade-offs between resources for problems and statistical learning. We have a new faculty member, Christina Delimitru, whose expertise is in computer architecture and specifically large database systems, the ones that are hosting the large servers for Amazon, for Google, for Facebook, and to figure out how to make those data centers more efficient and nowadays more reliable. In Cornell Tech, we have Vikram Krishnamurthy, whose expertise is in statistical signal processing and is applying those to different social applications, social networks, radar systems, and even in biological applications. Additionally, we have Francisco Montecone, whose area of expertise is materials, applied magnetics, nanophotonics, and again, all of our work is applied to specific real-world problems. In his case, microwaves to optical frequencies, to basically define new materials that can make those high-speed applications run effectively. Kirsten Peterson is a robotics person and is interested in how swarms of relatively simple autonomous devices can interact to solve a collective problem. She's taken some of examples from ants and colonies.
不是啊，就是安利他们自己项目，让我们
Could you
去。
please turn off your mic? And then we have Mert Sambuntu, whose area is again in image analysis with primary application for the modeling of genetic databases and computer vision. Lastly, we have a new faculty member, Masa Soran, who's a circuit expert, looking at low-power devices that can be used in biological applications, things like heart monitors or prosthetic devices that live for extremely long periods in the body. And again, some of this is done through machine learning. Machine learning has turned out to be a major new tool for all of our faculty members in analyzing problems in a totally new way of looking at large data to solve the problem. So how do you get access to this expertise? The Ithaca campus offers over 40 ECE courses at the 4,000 and 5,000 level courses. For those of you who are not used to our new numbering system, the 4,000 is generally our senior level courses, although many of them are quite advanced. And the 5,000 level are the master's level courses, the graduate courses. And it gives you a chance to take leading edge courses in subjects like information theory, machine learning, computer architecture, GPS, software as applied to some of these fields. You can also take 4,000 level courses in areas that you might have missed during your bachelor's program, or simply need a refresher on because it's a prerequisite for the area that you wish to pursue. One of the other features of our program is that you're allowed to choose courses from any part of the university. Cornell is a school of roughly a dozen different colleges, each with its own field, ranging from hotel administration to law to business. And even within the College of Engineering, we have about a dozen different departments. So students take courses from materials science, they take mechanical engineering, often when they're interested in robotics. They take them often in computer science when they're interested in the more intricate details of data structures, or right now, cyber work. And lastly, the way you really learn a subject is by using it. And that's the purpose of the project, which allows you to drill down and become an expert in the area that you're working on in your project. This year and last, we've introduced 11 new courses. I've listed them here. I'll go through them briefly. They're aimed at introducing students to some of the more emerging topics in electrical and computer engineering. There's some of the new models and methods of computational and software engineering taught by Edwin Kahn. One of the most popular is the Principles of Embedded Operating Systems by Joe Scavia. Christina is teaching a course in data center computing. Anybody who's interested in big data has to understand how to process that data in a way that effectively doesn't take forever to get the result. Kirsten has a robotics course talking about looking at some models from biology, and bio-inspired coordination of multi-agent systems is really looking at some of the models from animal colonies, particularly low-featured animals, like ants and household pests. How they work together to basically work on a common objective. Big data is one of the key areas. Again, I hear voices, so if you could mute your...
What is the step on the assignment, on the model, back and forth? We go back and forth.
Can you mute your phones, those of you talking? We have, big data is one of the key topics, and Jayadev has put together a course looking at the new models for dealing with these large databases. Then we have advanced computer networking, particularly software-controlled networks by Kevin Tang. A new course in getting maximum leverage out of the C programming language, computer systems program by Jose Martinez, is aimed at looking at using C language tools to solve ECE problems. Last two are parallel computing by Adam Bozancic. Again, multi-core devices have become the standard for most computing. And multi-core devices mean that you have multiple data paths through a computer architecture, and parallel computing becomes the standard and not the anomaly. Data science for engineers looks at some of the computational models that are used in computer science and applies it to engineering systems, particularly electrical engineering and computer engineering. And lastly, a core course on the foundation of robotics by Ross Knapter. We have a couple of other courses being taught. Some of them are really quite interesting. They're all quite interesting, but some of them are a little different. There's the Principles in Neuroscience and Medical Imaging by Peter Dorschuk. Filtering to controlled censoring. When you have large networks of the Internet of Things, you have sensors and actuators spread all over an environment, and you need to basically have mathematical filters to model and control these devices. And Vikram in Cornell Tech in New York teaches a course that is taught in New York but is remotely accessible in Ithaca. There's a unique course by Rick Johnson. He is a longtime signal processor, but became interested in art. And he's now become the leading expert in identifying fake pictures, particularly fake Rembrandts, by looking at the characteristics of the painting and then using signal processing to identify whether or not those paintings are done by the original Rembrandt or by some copy. Then we have power systems, economics, and markets. Clearly, with the availability of alternative energy, such as solar and geothermic, the economic model that we've had for so many years has changed. And Lang Tong teaches a course on looking not only at the power side of that, but also the mathematics of the economics and the markets for the power systems. And lastly, a course in power dynamics, stability, and control by Daozhong Chang. One of the things that we introduced last year is that we discovered that a few students, in fact, a significant number of students, were interested in taking a course that is at the undergraduate level, below the 4,000 level, because they lacked the background and wanted to have courses that were at the junior level. So we've changed the requirements to allow one ECE undergraduate course to be used as a technical elective. So one of your courses can be anything basically in our catalog, if that's an area that you need for remedial or additional training. So to summarize, we have a really rich collection of courses in pretty much every topic of current interest in electrical and computer engineering. And if you were to ace those, one would expect that your career prospects would be excellent. But one of the things we found is that it's very important as well to get certain social soft skills to be successful, not only in the interviewing process, but our follow-up discussions is that people who have better soft skills advance quicker in their companies. They end up not being stuck in a corner, and they actually move through the company to management roles and larger project roles earlier in their career. So through the coursework and presentation opportunities, one of the things we want to make sure of is that you can enhance your oral and written communication skills, with particular emphasis on the skills you'll need as an engineer, project planning and presentations. We're going to work on coaching you through the interview cycle to increase your attractiveness to recruiters. We're going to give you the opportunity to meet and interact with entrepreneurs, former Cornell alumni who come on campus regularly to interview and also to coach our students in being successful. And then there's always the opportunity, we have a lot of awards for the best projects in each technical area, as well as the overall best project. We have a kind of a fair at the end of May where each student team presents their project and they're judged both by our faculty member and by outside judges. Another key thing is really to use the time to develop a network among your fellow MEng students. Plan and design, execute, and present a project by the end of the year. So all these three things, coursework to develop your soft skills, developing a social network, and executing your project, are intended to make you more attractive than on pure technical skills to a potential employer. What is a project like? Many students have asked me what it's like. Well, you spend the first part of the semester talking to faculty and graduate students, identifying an interesting design project. One of the things we do over the summer is we canvass the faculty and ask them to develop one-page outlines of the projects that they're willing to sponsor. And it's generally projects that they've initiated. And a large number of students look through that and pick a project based on that. Another factor is that some students decide that they would like to pursue a project of their own making. And they spend that time looking for faculty willing to support a project like that. And I'll have examples in a few minutes. We also have a professional seminar, ECE 5010, where you're expected to articulate the project and develop a project proposal, write a project plan outlining the resources, schedule, and objectives of the project, and work interactively with a project supervisor to develop a sound written plan and final proposal. In the second semester, you drill down and complete the project and hopefully become a master in that project. We list all of the past projects in a website that's listed here, and it's on the ECE Cornell site. What are some examples of MEng projects? They typically range from 3 to 8 credits, with a maximum of 4 each semester. What that means is, using a common ratio, that it takes somewhere between 120 and 400 hours total to complete the project. If you divide that by 40 weeks, it can be range anywhere from 3 or 4 hours a week, all the way up to 10 hours a week. Projects can be individual or group. I would say about 60% are group projects, and about 40 or less are individuals. And as I said, they can be faculty specified or student specified. It must be something real, not a paper design. It must be a device, software, or simulation. And one key aspect of this is that you own the intellectual property of your project. If you design something of your own and it turns out that it's patentable and would make millions of dollars in the free market, it's your project. You own the rights to it, and you can market and gain the benefit of that effort. And then we have a large number of collaborative projects available with the Johnson School, computer science, materials, biomedical engineering, and other fields as well. A couple of examples. As I mentioned, at May we have a fair where we have each of the student teams present their project. This is a project that was done 2 years ago, where a student basically wanted to build a new type of touch piano, basically where it was just passive touch. And you can see in the poster that he designed both the electronics and the actual human interface for that project. And this was a winner at the fair. This is probably one of the most interesting projects we've ever had. The lady in the picture here, the girl, is a race car driver. That was her hobby or avocation. And one of the things when you do one of these race cars is the weather has a huge impact on your ability to accelerate. So she built a computer system that measured the weather and then modified the acceleration characteristics of the car in order to optimize its initial momentum coming off the starting block. Another project that was done in conjunction with a business school with an idea of having a product that could be marketed and sold was a wireless interface for a diet aid weight scale. One of the issues we face in the United States is a growing obesity problem. And so there's a lot of opportunity for people to buy devices that help them control their weight. This was a device that you could put something like an apple on a scale. It would basically identify, you'd have to indicate that it was an apple, but then it would identify all the nutritional components of it as part of a weight planning day. Another project was done in conjunction with a faculty member, Bruce Land, where somebody used signal processing to filter out voice from a song. So you had the singing voice and the music. And one of this, you could think of this as a device to help karaoke, because you take out the voice and then you can create a karaoke machine that allows you to broadcast just the music of a song. And finally, in conjunction with biomedical engineering, one of the students developed a microcontroller for a heart valve bioreactor. So it was a prototype of a system where it sensed signals, and given that input, would then adjust the heart valve to be more effective in terms of managing somebody's heart rate. What are the course requirements? Students are required to take a minimum of 12 credits each semester that they're enrolled at Cornell. This is a more or less a requirement of the Immigration Service, in the sense that students, to be considered a full-time student for ISO, have to take 12 credits. In addition, they're expected to complete a total of 4 ECE core courses, with 2 of them at the 5,000 level in technical areas related to your interest. After that, you pretty have free reign. You can plan to take courses to gain in-depth knowledge in one or more areas of specialization by picking technical electives, both within the department and in other areas like computer science, materials, systems engineering, business school, etc. And there's a long list of those that we'll go through when you enter, of which courses are allowed for this. But in fact, we have a mechanism whereby we can make exceptions. And for example, we had a student this past year whose interest was in music technology. He was a professional drummer. And he wanted to count as one of his core courses a course in the music school that dealt with music composition. And we allowed it, and it was clear that it was tied into his career aspirations. And lastly, 2 ECE courses must be taken each semester. So what is a typical course load? We have 2 options. Many students, and historically it was the majority of students, spent 2 semesters at Cornell, fall and spring. And to achieve that, you have to achieve a total of 31 credits over those 2 periods, in which case students would take 2 ECE core courses for a total of 14 to 18 credits. They would take ECE 5010 for 1 credit, They would take their design project, often for something on the order of 6 to 8 credits, and then they would take 1 or more electives each semester, and that would give them their 30. Now we find that over 50% of the students stay for a 3rd semester for a number of reasons. One of them being that it gives them the opportunity to spend the summer in an internship, which makes them more attractive to companies when they do look for final placement. And a second reason is they find the richness of our course offerings to be so attractive that they wish to stay for another semester. In that case, you'll see that students take on the order of 12 credits, 12 or more credits each semester, and graduate with about 36 or more. Okay, where can this take you? Well, most of our students go off to industry, and most of them into ECE or increasingly some software jobs. Some of our former graduates are like Justin Ratner, who is the former Chief Technical Officer of Intel, Jim Weissman, who is a venture capitalist in Sunnyvale, Dave Thompson, who became the head of exchange at Microsoft, and Mike Matthews is somebody who founded a company called Electro-Harmonix. So they all pursued different aspects of working in the electrical engineering area. On the other hand, a number of our students go on to look at ECE as the stepping stone to another career. Specifically, they apply to med school, law school. Some apply to business school. Many, in fact, go to business school. And they became successful entrepreneurs. And I like to argue that you can actually think of the liberal arts degree or the general degree in this area of technological innovation as ECE as being that kind of basic degree that allows you to pursue activities almost anywhere. We have guys who go into finance and become quantitative experts in analyzing market trends. Where do they go? Well, one of our primary objectives, and it's one that I often believe is my responsibility particularly, is to try and prepare people for a great job. And our past students have gone to Intel, to Xerox, to Oracle, to SpaceX, to Amazon Web Services, to Qualcomm, to Tesla, SanDisk, Accenture, Apple, Samsung, NVIDIA, Google. And these are just some of the brand names that everybody's familiar with. My former teaching assistant went to a startup in LA that are making field array chips for the financial services market. If you look at the next slide, the typical salaries average over 100,000. They range typically from about the high 80s to over about 120. Most of our students are successful in placement. Not all. In some cases, social skills make it more problematic. In some cases, some of the students have decided to return to their home country, and we don't totally have statistics on their success at home. The two anomalies I don't understand, I have to look. I think they went into the armed services, which is why their salaries are below 45,000. A number of students also go on to graduate school in other areas or in ECE. And one of the questions I've had from a number of students is, can you go from the MEng into a PhD program? The direct answer to that is the MEng program is not intended to send you to is not intended as a pre-PhD program. However, we have every year a few students, less than 10%, who pursue that path, and they take a set of coursework and a project that emphasizes their ability to do research. And we've had success both at Cornell and elsewhere in placing those students in PhD programs. So lastly, the most important thing, or as important, is that you have fun. We have a number of organizations that are student organizations that are aimed at making social opportunities available to students. This is our ECE Day, which we hold in May, which is an outing to get students to basically just have a day of fun before finals begin. And you see there are truly happy faces, even though they've been working really hard. So with that, I want to turn it over to questions. I'm going to go to the chat box and go through them, and I'll answer all of your questions one by one, okay? And please submit them. So there's one from here. Here we go. Let's start off with the top one. Okay, one of the people asked about the SU option. Because taking a SU means that you basically take it on a pass-fail, satisfactory or unsatisfactory basis. And one of the issues is that students sometimes want to dabble in a course or get some experience in a course without having to do the all the homeworks and all the details of that course. They want to do more than audit the course, but they want to take it without any it having any impact on their overall GPA. So the SU is like a pass-fail. We only allow 2 such courses to be taken and be counted toward the degree. You can take as many courses as you wish, depending on the instructor. Pass-fail, but you still need 31 credits of graded work to graduate. A paper, somebody asked me, what is a paper design? I'll use an example. If you design a circuit, we wouldn't just design the circuit on paper. We would expect an MEng project for somebody to design it first on paper or through CAD, and then to actually implement it, either on a chip or implement it on a circuit board. Next question. Will this PowerPoint presentation be available to us after the conference? Yes. I will I'll post it to either to the MEng site at Cornell, or I can actually have it mailed to everyone directly. I most likely will post it to the site on the MEng, and we'll send you a note how to reach it, okay? For the 2 ECE courses required each semester, does the project course count as one? No. When we talk about 2 listed courses, and as I said, there are 40 courses, roughly 25 each semester. So you have to pick 2 out of those 25 courses, plus your project. Is it a STEM course as we get through? Yes. Do we get 3 years OPT? Yes. Cornell engineering is the E in STEM. And you get on graduation, you get, I think it's 27 months of OPT, but you can extend that by having a summer internship, which we allow, and you can get CPT credit for that. It is not a question. Is the program a thesis or non-thesis program? We do not have a formal thesis. In lieu of that, we have a project. So it's not a published paper that you're expected to produce. It is a project that you're expected to complete. The difference, in my opinion, is that a thesis generally is intended to show positive results. And sometimes you do a project and it doesn't work out as you expected. We're comfortable with a well-run project, even if it delivers a negative result. How are job opportunities for international students? At this point in time, I found that there is a strong appetite among some of the key companies for international students who have the appropriate skills technically and have good social skills. Probably the biggest barrier to international students getting placement is being able to demonstrate that they can work in multicultural teams, i.e., if it's in this country, in teams whose primary language is English, and B, who can communicate well. So one of the things we encourage and we have actual instruction in is to make sure that every student builds their social skills to the level that is considered outstanding or at least acceptable by employers. But the onus on that is on the students. We have all the courses. We have English as a second language. We have opportunities for socialization, but also we sometimes find students who congregate in small teams that only speak their national language and who do not use the experience at Cornell as a way to branch out, but rather stay within their own culture. If you do that, it reduces your job prospects. It doesn't eliminate them, but it reduces them. Is there a more comprehensive list of student outcomes and placement? Please mute. Is there a more comprehensive list of student outcomes and placements available? We can give you a list of the companies that people have placed. Alex? Please stop. Please mute your machine. Is there a more comprehensive list of student outcomes and placements available? Yes. Alex, please mute your machine. Okay. Yes, and if you send me a direct email, I can send that to you. One of the websites we saw, we saw a PDF for the core ECE courses. Will there be an updated version this year? What I presented to you, I think the one that you saw is pretty much the updated one. Any ECE 5,000 level course and any ECE 4,000 level course counts as core. What we change sometimes is the list of courses outside the department. But I'll check that the updated version, if there needs to be an updated version, that it gets posted. Is there a registration restriction on CS classes, especially the computer architecture students? CS does post limits on the size of their classes. Invariably, they get over-enrolled at the beginning, but students in computer architecture are advised to attend the classes, and then as the students drop the courses, they get in. I've had very few, if no complaints, the last 2 years on students not being able to take CS courses that they wish to take. It was a problem a few years ago, but it has since, I haven't heard of any complaints this year. It does happen that initially they have trouble getting in, but they come in on a conditional basis, and then when other students drop, they formally get accepted in, and tends to happen over the first 3 or 4 weeks. Is there are there opportunities for MEng students to be graduate teaching assistants or obtain scholarships and fellowships? And we have we do hire about 30 MEng students to be teaching assistants. And it includes international students. Both my TAs in the last 3 years have been international students. The issue for new students coming in is that you're often not familiar with the course directly. And it tends to be the second semester and often the third semester when those TAs get awarded to the students. Like all professional programs at Cornell, this is a one that is not eligible for scholarships or fellowships. When is the best time to contact a supervisor for a design project? Is it better to do it before if there's a special area that you want to work in, and you know that a faculty member practices that area, there's nothing wrong with dropping a note before you come on campus in June or July and saying, I'm really interested in the work you're doing. Can I come by and see you at the start of classes? Those allocations don't happen until classes start. So you're not going to get locked in, but at least you'll make the faculty member aware. Okay, here's a question. If I want to take up a prerequisite course for a course which is offered in the odd semester, when would I have the time to take up the prerequisite, considering the fact that the program is a year long? Okay. One of the things that we do allow often is that you can take the course and the prerequisites concurrently. Sometimes many faculties may decide that you can self-study some of the prerequisites if you have the interest. On the other hand, if you have no background, then there's the prerequisite and the advanced course, that can be difficult, and that's sometimes why people stay for 3 semesters. Is there a power and energy field? Yes. There are a number of faculty members: Etienne Bitar, Daozhong Chang, and one other faculty member who do work in power and energy. It is a strong area, and it is one that we have increasingly gotten interested in because of the nature of the changing energy environment in the world and in the United States particularly. The longest you can be in the program. Somebody asked, I want to know what's the longest you can be in this program? The longest most people are in it is 3 semesters. There are occasions when people have problems that they stay for 4, but that's a very unusual situation. The best, I think the 3-semester option is a very good one for both professional and educational reasons. When I talked about the opportunities for TAs and RAs, and as I said, there are opportunities for roughly 30 MEng TAs in the coming year. And again, it tends to be, for foreign students, it's typically awarded to students who do well in the course in one of the semesters. Like, I know we've had a number of MEng students working in embedded systems who took the course in the spring. They took the course in the fall. And this spring, they're the TA in the course. There's a question. I want to know what if the students cannot satisfy the minimum requirements even after 3 semesters. it's very unlikely that's the case. It would imply that somebody has some strong academic difficulties. And as I said, there are occasions where people stay on for longer, but it typically is because they have not passed all their coursework. But it's unusual. If we admitted you to this program, we expect that you can graduate in a maximum of 3 and most likely 2 semesters. So I wouldn't worry about that. Compared with the other 2-year engineering master's degree, is there any difference in the Cornell difference of the Cornell toward? We don't really have a 2-year master's degree at Cornell. If you're comparing it to other schools, our ability to place students seems to be equal to those that offer a 3-year program. I mean, comparable to those that offer a 2-year master's program. In the United States, the Master of Science degree is increasingly viewed as the degree given to people who do not complete a PhD program. Okay, question. Does it mean we can choose one non-ECE 2-credit course as technical electives as well as only one non-ECE as a core elective? No, you can take as many courses outside the department as you wish. The ECE program has requires at least 3 of them to be core, 1 outside, and then all your technical electives can be taken outside the department if you meet the requirement that 2 ECE courses are taken each semester. William, the question was raised, will the MEC fellowships be announced before the deadline to confirm our admission offer? We pushed for having that announced. It's done by the College of Engineering, and I don't know the answer. I believe that would make sense, and I'll talk to them at the end of the day, and if you send me an email, I'll follow up for you. What exactly are the career support options provided by the university? We have really 2. We have a career services office in the College of Engineering that is dedicated to the Master of Engineering students. We have a career fair that's held in the fall, excuse me, in the fall and the spring that brings employers to Ithaca to interview students, and they come throughout the academic year to do that interviewing. As well, we do work on resume reviews, on presentation skills within the department itself. I can fill you in more if you sent me an email. But basically, we have a large career, in the career services office in the college, one really dedicated to placing students. It is our key objectives. From Alec, focused mainly on chip-based or software-based projects, given new courses on power markets and power dynamics, stability control. Is it possible? Yes. With Lang Tong and Adian Batar and with Dao Chang, you can do a clear program based on the power dynamics, stability control. It's one of the it's really an area that they are actively involved in. You should contact Adian Batar and Lang Tong specifically. Somebody asked again, I'll repeat it. How hard is it to M.Eng students to continue on a PhD? Will M.Eng students get a chance? PhD selection turns out to be very dependent on finding a sponsor. So the key way to get a sponsor is to do really good research as an MEng student. That means I would take a project that is research oriented and I would take it for 8 credits. I would aim that paper in a legitimate journal, and then the chances are pretty good, both at Cornell and elsewhere. But you have to take a very focused program where you do really quite theoretical work, because the PhD wants to, potential advisor wants to make sure that you're competent to do and succeed in a PhD program. Next question. I heard there is a Cornell Tech in New York City. What is the difference between Cornell Ithaca and Cornell Tech? Is it possible to transfer to Cornell Tech? Well, Cornell Tech is a more entrepreneurial focused program, and it tends to be more multidisciplinary. The ECE program has been in place there for only 1 year. And the course load is, the course availability is a little bit lighter, significantly lighter in ECE than it is in Ithaca. It is at this point in time, we've had students from Cornell Tech in New York transfer up to Ithaca. They'll be part of this coming class for their 3rd semester. The other way around is something we're negotiating right now. And it's not clear whether that will be available, so I can't promise it. If you're interested in that, you should contact me directly. When and what are the career big fairs? We have a career fair in September, and we have a career fair in February. The one in September is the bigger one. Most employers that you think of come there. We have a heavy dose of East Coast employers and West Coast employers. The names that I showed on the second to last page of the slide program, everybody from Amazon to MITRE to SpaceX come and host booths at this event, and it's primarily a way to introduce the company and introduce yourself to the company. There's a list I can, if it's interesting to you, there's a booklet from last year's career fair that I should be able to send to you if you're interested in that. And again, send me an email. Is there a co-op option provided by the program? The answer to that is there is no formal co-op program. I have had students who decide to take an internship not over the summer, but have taken an internship in the fall semester and in the spring semester and just delay graduation as a result of it. They find that their summer employment sometimes is very well received, and they wish to extend that into the fall. And we're quite flexible in allowing people to take a leave from Cornell and continue at work until they want to come back. How often does ECE hold career events? Is there any career event exclusive for you only? No. There are career events. Well, let me say it differently. 5010 is a career training event, and that's exclusively for ECE students. There are regular information sessions which are open to all students, but are heavily, and they're company sponsored, but they're heavily populated by students interested in the field. So for example, if Intel comes, you're not going to see many students other than ECE students attend the information session. We also have a regular online system called Handshake, which allows students to sign up for campus interviews and site interviews with employers that are interested in our students. Most of the career events, the big ones, the fall and the spring, are open to either technical or non-technical, and they're separated. So for example, if Procter & Gamble came on campus, they would not be typically interviewing at the technical career fair, which is held on a different day than the general career fair. What is the male-female ratio for the program? I believe that the ratio right now is somewhere on the order of 40%. And this is based on my observance in class, that it's probably somewhere around 35 to 40% female and the remainder of 65% male. But I'm not sure. Okay. Somebody sent me a note in Chinese, and I don't know what that means, so I'll skip it. Can we choose outside ECE courses like classes in computer science easily? Yes. The only constraint on enrollment outside the department is one, that it counts as a technical elective, in which case if it doesn't, you can appeal, and most appeals are granted. And two, that the course doesn't have a cap in the number of students. If the course has a number cap on it, then you may be waitlisted, but those clear. As I said earlier, I have very few students who have come to me to ask for help in getting placed in a CS course, or any course, in fact. It is possible, somebody's asked, is it possible to apply for the PhD program? And I think I've answered that. Anybody can apply to the PhD program. The likely question is it likely I'll get accepted? And the best way to get accepted at the Cornell PhD program and or any other one is to do a research-oriented project, work very closely with the advisor who's supervising it, and gain their sponsorship for both a PhD at Cornell and a PhD elsewhere. I don't understand the student profile regarding the country of origins. At this point, we have about 60% international students, maybe 65%, and about 35% domestic students. This seems to be characteristic of most MEng master's programs in the United States right now. Obviously, the two countries that are leading that list would be China and India, although we have representatives from roughly 30 or more countries who've applied to the program. And typically we have representatives from anywhere from 25 to 50 countries from year to year. I don't know how many people per ECE cohort. Does that mean live as a group? Many of the ECE students live in find common housing. It is a good idea. The disadvantage for being in a common and so that you can find other people to find housing with. Will all 11 courses be available this fall? No, some will be available in the spring. We will have a listing of all the courses when you come. If you have a question about a specific course, I can let you know when it's likely to be offered. What is the exact time to start our study to take courses? We have a each year we have an orientation that starts in the middle of August. I can give you the exact date when the orientation is. Hold on one second. Orientation starts on the 15th of August. So students are expected to be on campus the 15th of August for an orientation that runs 3 days. And then classes, I believe, start the following Tuesday. There's a question, just for more information on the question asked above, there is a core course list on the website, but it does not include all 4,000 level ECE courses, greater or equal in 3 credits. Can we take those outside the core list to satisfy our core requirements? I believe so. If not, I will, I have not seen a situation where that's denied on appeal, okay? A question, you mentioned there is no fellowship. The website mentions an MEC. There are some specialized college-wide fellowships like the MEC, but and there are a few others like the Knight Fellowship. But in general, there's no financial aid. The MEC fellowships, I have to find out when they're going to be announced. They have not been announced as of yesterday. Can I choose a design project that is not on the list of the design project? Of course. You can, many students, I would say at least anywhere from 25% to a third, pick projects of their own interest. The only thing that you need to do is to find somebody who's willing to sponsor that project. But we have a number of faculty members, including myself, who are willing to take on the sponsorship of a project that is not necessarily in their area of interest, but is, I mean, that's in their area of interest, but not something they're currently working on. So, so it really takes a case of walking around, talking to the faculty. And one of the things I should mention again, for those students who are from Asia and India, in America, and particularly at Cornell, our faculty are very approachable. So you should walk up to the faculty and, you know, somebody you think is an area, and ask to have a 15-minute or a half-hour appointment to talk to them about what your interests are and to work together to identify a project. We make it our priority that every student has a project by about 5 weeks into the semester. And many of those are of their own making. Somebody says, I've chosen control theory as my area of interest. Is there a chance I can change my area of interest before working on a project? Of course. One of the purposes of education is to find yourself. And if you're interested in embedded systems, if you're interested in machine learning, you can change it, and you can even change it, your area of interest after you start your project. Either the project shifts or you do a project in your old area of interest and take coursework outside of that area of interest. It doesn't have to be that the project and everything and all your coursework is only in one area. So a number of students diversify quite a bit. Can you have an ORIE minor during 3 semesters? Yes. It's not officially a minor, but you can take coursework in ORIE. And one of my former students did that. How long a summer internship can be done? We finish classes roughly the middle of May, and we begin classes roughly the end of August. So something around 10 to 12 weeks is a reasonable summer internship. Can you describe the Cornell campus atmosphere? Well, I assume you're not talking about the weather. We try and be informal. We are located in a rural area. People live in town. People are there because they want to interact with students, and I would say, without exception, everybody is very approachable. We encourage students to become friends with other, and I think I'm there because I like the environment. It is a cordial, pleasant environment with students as our primary concern. What do you think what do I think about President Trump and his policy for immigrants? Will it affect the international students a lot? Personal viewpoint aside, clearly what he has said would, anybody who's not in the United States or even in the United States would view President Trump's statements to be not particularly favorable. But on the other hand, our experience has been he's been in office a year, and we've seen no impact on our ability to place students or to bring students to Cornell. I think the students who are applying to engineering colleges and engineering jobs will be unaffected because there's a huge shortage in the United States for the skills, and particularly skills that we at Cornell produce. So I believe it will be. I believe it will. The culture should be unaffected, at least for the immediate term, for students applying to Cornell. Is it possible to schedule a campus visit with a department prior to the orientation? Yeah, I would do it before May, because Ithaca turns quiet after graduation. We don't have a formal mechanism for an orientation for incoming graduate students. So if you contact me or you contact Scott Caldron, we'll arrange time that you can meet us and visit the campus. It might be useful for finding housing. And if you tell us what your interests are, we'll try and schedule a visit with 1 or 2 faculty members. There's also a formal or organized campus tour that's run out of the administration building in Day Hall, but you have to check with the Day Hall administration to find out if it's being run on the day you plan to come. Would we have lab for studying and doing research? Yes, we have lots of labs, both for classes. We have a maker lab where you can do individual projects. And if you're doing research, most of the faculty have their own research labs. So we also have a specialized room for students to just hang out. So there's a lot of opportunity for being in lab. If your course requires a lab, you have access to that lab pretty much all times. If your research demands a lab, you have access to that lab all times. And if you're wanting to do individual stuff, we have a maker lab where you can do anything that you wish to do in that, what we call a maker lab. Is there a dormitory for graduate students? By and large, no. Most of the graduate students live on campus in apartments of their choosing. I think there's 1 or 2 Cornell sponsored apartments that have basically a common area and individual rooms for the students. Based on your observation, do students in ECE enjoy a harmonious, cohesive relationship? I think so. I mean, I would say more than I think so. I know so. I've maintained relationships with students for many, many years now. And we do an exit survey, and most of the students say they've had a very good, happy experience. I think the nature of working hard together creates a cohesive relationship. And people are expected to pull their own weight. And if they pull their weight, then it becomes harmonious. Every once in a while, there's obviously interpersonal conflicts, but the class is large enough that those don't affect the overall culture. Is there going to be a similar webinar like this for new PhD students? No. I believe there was an on-campus visit scheduled a week or two ago. If you have questions, you should direct them to Scott Caldwell. According to my previous description, we can take courses from that of any other department, but is there a restriction on that? No, the restriction is that you take 2 ECE courses a semester and that you do your project. If you want to take 18 courses, you can take 2 or 3 outside courses each semester. It's a heavy load, and I advise against it because it typically affects the GPA. But there is no constraint on how much you can take. There's only a constraint that the minimum that you have to take is 2 ECE courses in our department. Okay, next question. And then I think I've reached the end. Okay. You said we can have 3 months summer internship. The people who have a 3-month, okay, hello. You said we can have 3-month summer internship, but why do we have time to do summer internship? Because we graduate. If you stay for 2 semesters, there's no summer internship. I mean, most people start a job. The people who take summer internships stay for 3 semesters. And net, it turns out to be a wash because the compensation for working over the summer pays for the fall semester's tuition. But the summer internships are people who stay for the 3rd semester, typically. Those who graduate in June 19, you graduate really in May 19, so they're available for work in June 19, typically start full-time jobs. And I think I've reached the end of the questions. If there's any more questions, I'll give you a minute to kind of type them. Otherwise, I'm going to say thank you. I hope that many of you, if you have more questions, send them directly to me. You have my email address. And seriously, I think it's a great place to be. I've gone to Cornell as an undergraduate. I was here as a graduate student. I left and taught elsewhere and worked elsewhere for a number of years, but I think it's a great place to be for a year or 18 months. And I hope that I have the opportunity to see you in the fall. And again, any questions that I did not answer or that you felt uncomfortable asking, just send them to me directly. And with that, have a great evening. I know for some of you, it's bedtime. For some of us, it's morning time. And take care. Hi, I see, I just got one more question. There was an could you repeat one more time my question? According to the previous screen, we can take courses from all other departments, but is there any restriction? There's no restriction on the number of courses you can take. You can take as many courses as you wish, as long as you take 2 ECE courses each semester. So for example, if you decide to take 2 additional CS courses each semester, and you can handle the load, you're totally open to taking that. If you want to take a business course and a CS course, that's open to you. They become technical electives, and that works. So you should be able to fill your requirements. The only thing that we require is that while you're an ECE student, that you take at least 2 ECE courses each semester. And that does not include the project coursework. Okay? Hi. 2 more questions. Do we have to hand in an application for a minor? We don't have, as I mentioned, we don't have a formal minor in the graduate program. It's just you choose that as a selection of courses. And in effect, it becomes a minor, but there's no kind of like on an undergraduate degree that you have a major and a minor. So if you want to take ORIE, for example, as a minor, you just take courses in that area as your technical electives. And all the newest courses above the 4,000 level. I believe the course offered by Professor Wagner, data science for engineering, is not at the 4,000 level, but all the others are, to the best of my knowledge. Hi. If you actually looked at the sheet, there were 16 courses. I listed 5 on the second page. So it is 16. I don't know, to be honest, all that are offered in fall and in the spring. If you have a specific course you want to know for the fall, I can let you know when it'll be offered. Hi, I know that machine learning with biomedical data will be offered in the fall. The introduction to neural engineering, I'm not sure. It's not currently listed on the schedule for the fall, so it might be the spring.